Welcome to Silicon Valley Impact, where business insight meets startup innovation. And now, please give a warm welcome to your host, Brian Sparks, and his co-host, who is on assignment this week, Lisa Helfrich.
All right, Brian. Way to make me feel like a rock star. Welcome to Silicon Valley Impact on Pirate Cat Radio, KPCR 92.9 FM in Los Gatos and beyond. What you're about to hear is edited for radio. I'm your host, Brian Sparks, and once again, Lisa Helfrich is on assignment for Silicon Valley Impact this week. The purpose of this show is to have honest conversations about what it takes to build great businesses and communities so that you can make an impact within your own. Our show kicks off with a lead guest. Today we have Sherri Douville, who you will meet in a minute, but then we bring in a startup. And then the third leg is a local business, small business, and you'll get their insights. And finally, we'll bring it all together so that you can go out and make an impact for yourself. And I want to make a special warm welcome to Jeanette Blasey, who is a big sponsor and supporter of Los Gatos. I'm already being messy, of Silicon Valley Impact, but we do also build community with Los Gatos lifestyle. But Jeanette is of Blasey's Vault of Los Gatos. So
she's off camera right now.
She's off cameras, but she is right now looking at me.
And she's off mic too, so the listeners can't hear her either, Brian. But she's in the studio.
She loved the intro music. So, all right. So with that being said, I want to thank her for being here. We're going to hear her journey being a resident of Los Gatos, about opening and running Blasey's Vault of Los Gatos. It's going to be a great story. In fact, we have two Los Gatos cats in the room today. And so we'll talk 3, 4, it just keeps going. We have standing room only. Brian, who you?
You've got Jeanette, who graduated from Los Gatos High School. You've got, Sherri graduated from Los Gatos High School. I graduated from Los Gatos High School, and we have my son back here in the studio audience who also, so, I mean, it's a big Wildcat reunion right now.
Oh my gosh. All right. And yeah, who would have thought? I am an old school Branham Bruin, so I'm just kind of the outcast today. I'll just keep quiet and let you guys run the show. All right. Well, with that being said, welcome to our 4th episode. And I'm excited for our women who are here today to talk about their leadership and their insights. But first, let's bring in Sherri Douville. Sherri, welcome.
Hi, thank you for being here. It's an honor.
Yeah. I'm glad you could finally make it. I've known Sherri for a while, and let me tell you, she's a rock star. She is the CEO of Medigram. Talk a little bit about it. Introduce yourself to our audience and talk a little bit about Medigram, because I think you're one of my favorite people in Silicon Valley. The way that you're just kind of you're crushing it, what you're doing to be a great leader, and what you're quickly building, and the fact that you're a Los Gaton.
Oh, that's very kind. And so I've been at this for a while. I am CEO of Medigram, and our mission is to drive safety, efficiency, and profitability in health systems, leveraging a specialized application, because a leading cause of preventable death is still a delay in information. And a lot of that is because physicians can't get the information they need where they are because they're on the go. And that's because phones and applications, they were really made for stationary office situations, and they weren't really made to support people like physicians or even other kinds of professionals that have to be mobile and on the go. So what we've developed is a mobile specific application, kind of like a medical grade WhatsApp, that allows clinicians to communicate when nothing else works. There's obviously an intelligence component to that as well, because you really want, if you're going to bring something into healthcare, you have to provide like exponential value to both the clinician as well as the institution. So we also have a data and AI component that helps drive like utilization management, resource allocation, things related to quality and financial improvement are the things that we work on. So we really we're not selling a widget technology. We're selling programs to health systems to help them improve their quality, safety, and finance positions.
So Brian, that's a big pain point, and we're going to unpack that in a little bit. But let's back up a little bit. We said you're from Los Gatos, and now here you are, CEO of Medigram. How did you get here? Because our listeners are looking to be in a position of leadership. We got a lot of startups. Roya will be here in a minute to talk. Say hi. You can say hi, Roya.
Hi.
Hi, good. So we're going to talk to her in a little bit. She has a startup. But what has been your journey in order to take the helm of this company that's quickly growing, that's covering a big pain point? Because as a patient, we trust our physicians to be effective. But what you're saying is that there's a communication breakdown. And we're going to talk about your drive for just being a great communicator in a minute. But what was your journey getting to this point, CEO of Medigram? Where did this begin? Were you always in life science, in med tech?
I've always been in life sciences. Yeah, so it probably began like just with my childhood. I'm so fortunate to grow up in Los Gatos and still have a lot of friends that I grew up with, family friends, as well as friends that are my age. And my mom was disabled when I was growing up, and so had a lot of exposure and experience caregiving and with the health system. And obviously, you got a front row seat to seeing the gaps, and so that it always just burned in my memory. And then when I went to school, I went so far away. I went to Santa Clara to be close to my mom, to help take care of her. And I was very fortunate to have incredible mentors and an amazing academic advisor there. And so I had decided though at one point that I was not destined for medical school because I did not have the temperament that a lot of my friends who practice and who lead in medicine now are really amazing people. We don't deserve them, but that's not really me. I'm very practical, and I really want to fix things. My high school nickname was MacGyver, and so really hard for somebody with my temperament and drive to really thrive in a field like medicine. So I actually ended up going into industry. So I'd worked my way through college, and shortly thereafter.
I'm going to pump your brakes for a second.
Sure.
So you have a superpower that actually, you've had this fix it mentality.
Yeah,
but
I've been fixing things.
Yeah,
forever.
but you feel that in the direction you were going, it wasn't really celebrated. Is that what?
Well, it's not. It doesn't. You can't. It's hard to thrive the tradition of medicine. And I use the word tradition very purposefully because it's full of traditions. It doesn't really accommodate someone who's got an innovation drive with the fix-it mentality. I think it's evolving slowly, but not when I was.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard that where someone is very unique in a particular skill set, character quality, and yet it butts up against kind of the traditional mindset.
Exactly.
How did you continue? Even from a younger age, college, how did you continue to press on with this and continue to be successful and nurture that quality?
Yeah, so I don't want to misrepresent like I've had some sort of like golden run of continuous success. It's been ups and downs. I've been always just worked on really self-awareness and having very clear values, and then just trying to be a person of value where I create value for not just myself, but for other people and for institutions, and just surround myself with as many people that I respect and trust as possible. And it seems like things always work out that way. And so I wish I could say there's a grand master plan. It wasn't like that. So I got recruited to Johnson & Johnson, which was an incredible experience because they spend who knows how many millions of dollars on training and management development. And I got to go through that program in over a dozen disease states, and I got to have amazing experiences and trips and awards and all the fun things that you would hope for people to have in their career. But I never really saw myself moving to New Jersey, which is where the headquarters are. So I got recruited into healthcare IT, to answer your question, by some physicians who wanted help looking at an application to help them with communication. And so this is my first foray into tech is actually with Medigram, through physicians I had known through my time at Johnson & Johnson. So I'm like an accidental techie, but the dot connector is that I had a very heavy physics background. So my BS at Santa Clara is called Combined Sciences. Most schools call it biomedical engineering, or they call it science, technology, and society. So it's very heavy in physics, biology, chemistry, math, and then also the social sciences and economics. And so very easy for me to pick up coding.
So I have a question. Last week we had Marion Becker here, and she was talking about her journey through engineering. And I'm curious about your journey. One thing that she was talking about is that she was the only woman in her class and surrounded by just men. You talked about going to Johnson & Johnson, kind of your golden run. It wasn't completely the golden run, but you had a pathway. Were you kind of the only woman in that space that you kind of had to...
I was very fortunate because there were hardly any women, and including women that looked like me, in biopharma at the time. And so I was highly memorable, and that I think contributed to the success to the degree that I did have success there. And then in terms of like studying combined sciences at Santa Clara, again, I was one of 3 women in the program. And so one of the things I was blessed with was that my academic advisor, who was the chair of the physics department, met with me every week. And I guess I understand that's fairly unusual.
So you
it's
had mentors. You had
yeah,
some-
a lot of mentors.
Yeah. And you still have mentors.
I have many, dozens of them. Yes.
Yeah. So your journey to Johnson & Johnson positioned you now to kind of make a run
in healthcare,
in
IT.
healthcare
Yeah.
and IT.
Hey, Brian, can we stop on that mentors question for just a second?
Yeah.
I mean, really, dozens of mentors. I just really, I want to take a second to just touch on that, because I mean, you must be somebody who is programmed to seek mentors out. They can't just be showing up in your life. Is that something you do intentionally?
I'm always open to them, and I have like a whole screening methodology that I'll blog about. And I'll send it to Brian. But so the thing about my space is it's very complex, and you have to have multiple disciplines. And so I figured out pretty quickly that I'm a great person to understand things and identify the right people. But I'm not trying to be an expert in medicine, or trying to be an expert in devices, or trying to be an expert in data or AI. I have to have literacy in all those areas, but I have to find the best people and get them to work together. And one of the ways that you build the best working relationships is to seek out people that you respect and trust, and then naturally, hopefully, they could become your mentor. And ideally, you be each other's mentor, because it's about teamwork with people that complement you. So I think it's just kind of my philosophy of living is all around teamwork.
I love that. And I want to hear a little bit about how you built your team. I mean, we'll get to that. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I want to hear a little bit how you built a team at Medigram, and what were the qualities that you were looking for? Because it sounds like you're really good with being empathetic, like where people are coming from, and positioning them to be a success so that the community or the whole can be a success. Okay, so you worked your way through Johnson & Johnson. You had mentors. You were one of a handful of women in your industry. What was kind of then the next inflection point in your career moving towards Medigram?
So that was pretty much it. So I had worked at Johnson & Johnson. I decided to set up a consulting practice because I had gone through this Stanford biodesign program called Emerging Entrepreneurs, which is where they mash up engineers, physicians, and business people all at Stanford Medicine. And this is just I think it was 2 weekends or something like 3 or 4 day program. And I realized I was one of the only people there that was not somebody who was working as an engineer, working as a physician. And I just saw that there was a huge demand for someone like me who could connect engineers and physicians and then also understand the business of medicine. And so from that experience, I decided to set up a consulting practice. And this company became one of my clients. That's how I got connected with it. A surgeon that I was working with on a different project connected me with this company. And I actually tried to block him from connecting me, because that's usually, I'm very selective because I have to be for time management. And he's like, no, I just have a feeling about this. I know that you have a lot to offer this particular company, and I just need to ask you to meet with them one time. But what I did initially, the first project I did to see how I wanted to get involved was have a physician feasibility assessment meeting with a bunch of physicians that I knew that I'd worked with at Johnson & Johnson. So we pulled about 20 of them together at La Rinconada Country Club and did like a design session as to what their pain points were around not being able to communicate. And when I saw it, I had never worked even at Johnson & Johnson with a product that had so much demand and need from the physician side. So I just kind of got sucked into it. And
so what does that mean? Just because that sounds like that took a lot of evaluation and assessing. But so what does that mean that they didn't have that component?
Well, the things they have today don't work for them on their phones. So hospitals are the most network challenged, connectivity environments in the world, hospitals and clinics. And so generally it's they may try to send an insecure text message to a colleague, but they might not even get the message for hours or days. And then they're trying to mask the information because of HIPAA regulations. They're not allowed to use a full name. And so there's just a huge problem with them being able to do what they need to do in a way that safeguards patient information. And I don't know what you guys have heard about, the big United Healthcare Change breach, but I think we finally reached this inflection point also in the market where a lot of people, even outside of medicine, are starting to recognize how important cybersecurity is. And that's a huge thing that I work on too.
So now you have this issue of communication, but security.
Yeah.
And so
exactly.
you have a huge problem and an evolving cybersecurity issue with tech just booming
Yeah.
at this time. How did you start to bring that together? I mean,
I can't take the credit for that. Again, I have all these mentors. And so what happened was that I had learned about, and I'm a huge believer and promoter of having role models you don't even know that you want to, admire them and you can learn from them. You don't have to spend time with them. You can just observe them. And so one of my big influences in life has been Lisa Su, because Lisa is very technical. She's the CEO of AMD. And every time they introduce her, and I do want to make sure to share with women that I think our paths are unique paths. I don't think our paths are ones that we pattern after men, right? We blaze a new trail for a new time. It's not something that we try to recreate, like the whole thing with Elizabeth Holmes and her deep voice. Like, no, just be yourself, like don't try to be someone else. But the thing about Lisa is they always say, Lisa Su, with 40 IEEE technical papers. That's how they introduce her every time she comes on stage. They wouldn't do that to a guy. But the reason why they do that to her, and it's a great lesson, is because we have to bring something distinct and unique and sort of visible to the table in order to get the support that we need. That's why I do the publishing, because I've been able to involve and also recruit a lot of mentors and sponsors and coaches that way, because it gives them something to stand on, right? And so that is something I think as women that we just have to accept is just kind of part of the deal, right?
So I got two questions around that. One, why is that, and how do we change it?
So I don't think the way we change it is by building success with women who are able to crack a code, and then those that are able to crack a code to be bringing others up behind us. Like I've had some great experiences that I'm very proud of, like helping a woman get funding, helping a woman save her company. And those are things that I've been able to do based on the experiences that I've had, and I'm sure other people have done much bigger and greater things than that. And I look forward to keep doing that, right? Like I've helped people get jobs, get prestigious opportunities, and I do that as much as I can because that's the only way we're going to drive change, right? But we can't change the system. I'm just a huge proponent of that. Like I'm very practical, right? We have to work with the way that the system is right now. And the way that it works right now is we need to partner with male allies, and we have to understand how risky it is for them, and we have to de-risk it for them by providing as much for them to stand on as possible. And to me, that's two dimensions. That's a network, and then it's also visible signs of success, things like publications, like prestigious talks, and those are things they can stand on when they go to bat for you.
So I want to kind of connect the dots here. Something you said is very interesting to me. One, early on, you said that one of your character qualities that you lean on is self-awareness. Mm-hmm. And what you just said, that there are those who have victories and then need to go back and help others.
That's right.
I was at a women's event a few weeks ago, and one of the things that came up is that women needed to celebrate their victories a little bit more. How can you share that skill set of being self-aware? I've just done something great, because men have no problems of like spiking the football in the end zone, saying I've done this.
But Brian, I want to differentiate something here on that point. I think that Sherri has a great point. I mean, many great points. I mean, you're everything you're saying is fantastic, and you're obviously well accomplished and well spoken. But
thank you.
I agree with you in a way that the accomplishments and the doing of the business is really the spiking of the football in the end zone. I just personally, as a man,
see that.
I discourage somebody coming up and saying, "Oh, look at me as a woman. I've accomplished all these things." That almost perpetuates the problem.
Yeah.
Right. To say, "Oh, look at what I did as a woman." Right. Like that suffix is part of the problem.
But what I'm getting at, and you're absolutely right. And there's this other component of women, I guess, pausing and saying, "I won today," or "I won this quarter," or "I won," and then pausing and not just keeping their head down and moving forward, but going back like you're talking about. Like pausing and saying, okay, that's worth a pause. I need to now go back and mentor somebody to where I've come from. I mean, there seems like there's some distance parts here. And I completely agree with Brian about, it shouldn't be distinguished based on what your gender may be, but yet just the self-awareness of like, I'm proud of myself. Now I'm going to go back and help somebody at the right time. I mean,
well, and it's not about being proud, because I think it's actually more important to be humble. But I think it's the acknowledgement. If you've been lucky, and like I have these world-class, like best-in-class people that I lean on, that I meet with every week. And so if I've been this lucky, that it's like, I need to try to spread that. It's not about just about me. But I did want to answer your question about cybersecurity and Lisa Sue again. So what happened was, one of my mentors, who's top CISO, Chief Information Security Officer in the industry, asked me to get involved with IEEE right after I sort of had that aha moment about Lisa Sue.
And for our audience, tell them what IEEE is.
Yeah, thank you. So IEEE is like the biggest technical professional society in the world. It stands for Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineers. And it's very esteemed in engineering and in technology. And so because I saw what it had done with Lisa's career, I was able to recognize the opportunity and get involved with it. And it's really a huge, organization of really the smartest, most conscientious technologists in the world. So I'm part of a group that's like 250 technologists from 55 countries that are, all, well vetted and with great reputations and really the top of their field. And so that, being exposed to them is really what gave me like the inside fast track to what needed to be done in this industry for cybersecurity.
Okay, I liked it. So, Brian, how are we doing on time?
We're doing fine.
Okay, sounds good.
You're good.
So, what I'm hearing is one, incredibly smart. So
that's very
Ray Dalio says you got to be hungry, humble, and smart. That was the other one you just brought up. Hungry, humble, and smart.
Yeah, she's got them all. You got them all.
Yeah, hungry, humble, and smart.
Triple threat.
Oh, that's
You
so nice.
you have spent a lot of time perfecting the craft of communication.
Yeah, that's how we met.
That's how we met. Not only is your company about communication, obviously that's a pain point, but you personally have gone above and beyond in order to communicate a clear message. Why have you bared down on getting coaching and being a clear communicator within your company and your market?
So I met Brian through my communications coach, Anthony Lee, with Heroic Voice Academy. He was life-changing. So I recommend anybody to apply to work with Brian and Anthony. And I work with Anthony 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what's going on. And so the reason is because, like I was saying, so I run a community for our industry. It's 100 of the top people across medicine, engineering, IT, health IT, administration, venture capital. And because we have to work together in order to transform healthcare, desperately needs transformation. Technology can help, but it has to be done in the right way. And it has to be done the right way from all these valuable, valid, multiple perspectives, including regulatory, including safety, patient safety, including engineering, including IT. And so in order to enroll and enlist and activate and manage all of these leaders, it really requires communication. And so the biggest challenge we have in terms of leveraging technology for good in medicine is really a terminology problem, and a taxonomy problem. And so one of the big things that we work on in our community, it's called Trustworthy Technology and Innovation. It's kind of separate from Medigram, but there's a lot of obviously overlap because Medigram leads the community. So we publish books out of it and work on standards and things like that. But the thing about it is that it's about shared language and shared context amongst previously completely separated silos of population. So are you into science fiction at all?
I watched Star Wars as a kid. And when I say I watched Star Wars as a kid, probably about 5 minutes before the show.
Yeah, okay, because I love the Foundation series with Isaac Asimov, so I'm probably nerding out too much.
Clearly wasn't in the same room as me. Okay, all right. Go.
But you can understand this. The thing about the Foundation is it's this constellation of planets and different societies that are trying to coexist productively and peacefully. And so that's what I love. I always assign it to everybody, anyone who's serious about, if you really want to understand me and work with me, you've got to watch the Foundation.
Not Star Wars.
All right, it's on my list. I'm going to start watching.
Good recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you focused on communicating all these different siloed segments of your industry.
Yeah.
You're tasked with educating them, showing where the problem is, introducing them to your technology, and you've gone as far as writing a few books. Talk a little bit about the 4 books that you have written, and you had a new one just come out.
It's about to come out. It's complete. The draft is complete, but it's going to come out later this year. AI and Cybersecurity Handbook for Healthcare Boards. And so the short story as to why we do the book. So we're honored, again, through one of my mentors, who's a serial CIO, Ed Marks. He publishes with Taylor and Francis, who's number 3 for academia in the world behind Oxford and Cambridge. And he sponsored me to also, interview with Taylor and Francis and get an opportunity to publish with them. And we had 2 back-to-back long-term bestsellers, Mobile Medicine and Advanced Health Technology. And then I was able to parlay that into a series editor role, which is something that's important in medicine. It's important in academic medicine, mostly. But what I did when I came from Johnson & Johnson is I saw that there was a lack of trust in the industry of technology in general, and I thought the best, fastest way to fix that was through standards and publications, because at Johnson & Johnson, we were always 1 or 2 in the market, and that was a huge basis for why we would win the trust of the market, and basically win the market was through sort of more honest, ethical sharing of information, with the market, with the physicians. And so I am bringing that to this industry.
So that goes counterintuitive to a competitive market where you almost have to put on the cap of an advisor to the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And you're sharing all this information. So we've kind of heard your journey from Los Gatos High School now to CEO of Medigram. For those who are listening, what would be your top 3 insights in order to become a leader in industry and to position yourself for success based on your experience? We've heard a handful of them, but what is top of mind for you?
So I want to reframe what you asked, because I didn't set out to be a leader in the industry. I set out to solve a problem. And so I think that what I would have is just be super clear about your values, and always try to live by those as much as you can. And it'll help you attract the right people to you, friends and mentors and colleagues. And then the second thing would be just like do. One thing my grandfather that I really appreciate about him was that he always emphasized that you treat everyone with respect. It doesn't matter what they do. You don't know why they're doing their occupation. You don't know what they had to overcome to get where they are or why they're there. And so very important not just to be humble, but to treat every single person with respect, and then to just be as trustworthy as possible, and to really understand, what that means. And from there, opportunities will keep opening up. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. So you can't really, I don't think you should say, oh, I intend to be the leader of this, this industry. That's not, because I'm kind of creating a new sort of wedge between industries. I'm not really saying I'm the leader of the healthcare IT industry, or I'm the leader of healthcare technology, or I'm the leader of AI and medicine. I'm not trying to say that. I'm saying I'm the person that bridges the necessary people that have to come together in order for us to really deliver results to patients, clinicians, and organizations.
And you lead with setting that context. So I really value it. And the others you said was obviously being self-aware. You use communication to drive those values, and you've done so well. I want you to join forces with me as we welcome in Roya. But before we pivot to Roya, I want to thank you, Sherri, for sharing that story. Great journey.
Welcome.
Great journey.
You.
Love it.
Go
ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I know Roya's coming up, and so far I've met Roya just recently, but I'm sure she's going to have a lot to say. But don't you just want to keep listening to Sherri talk? Like just let it go on.
Nice.
Yeah. She's just very rich and full of great advice and great context, and we really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's an honor being here.
Well, I think it goes
Thank you
without
so
saying her high character quality and insight and energy, but shameless plug for communications coaches.
I am so grateful to you. I mean, it's life changing. I can't recommend it more highly.
I think a lot of people don't understand the value of a coach. Honestly, I think there's just a huge population of people out there that just have no idea what that even means, or the value that a coach can bring, or how much of self-development comes through coaching.
Oh, it's incredible.
And for Big Brother who's listening, Sherri and I are not in business together. We have a friend, so Big Brother.
She's not a sponsor of the show. She has no financial interest in podcasts or Silicon Valley Impact. We don't even know who she is. We don't even know how she got here.
Dominic, you can check the door and tell
I didn't even know what I was doing here today. Brian emails me, can you meet me in Los Gatos at 11:30 on Friday?
Are we going to Black Hats? Yeah. All right. So, Sherri, that's awesome. But let's focus. Let's bring in Roya. Roya, you have a startup. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is the second time I get to hear you. We've chatted on Zoom, and then I heard you pitch with Bay Angels. You did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
But tell our audience who didn't have the privilege of being at that event a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Brian. To begin and talk a little bit about our my startup, we are building an AI-driven safe-to-buy application that helps young professionals shop without getting into debt. And the reason why we're doing this is because I'm sure you all have heard the credit card debt has passed its 1 trillion mark last summer, and that's very concerning. But my co-founder and I got excited about this problem even before that because, I'm an immigrant. I got to North America, and the first thing I received was a credit card. And because I had a well-paying job, I actually got a bunch of them really quickly, and they all had high limits. And for someone who moved to a different country and a different continent alone, I had to be really, cautious with the way I was spending my money. And it was really difficult for me to not fall into debt for actually no good reason, because I usually categorize that into 2 categories. I can talk about that later. But I had a struggle not getting into debt. And at the beginning, I thought it's just new to me and it's just probably happening to me. But I soon realized that there are a lot of people who are having the same problem, specifically younger generations. And I looked into the problem and I realized that there is a big gap in the market because younger generations, millennials and Gen Z, don't want to use credit card because they don't want debt. They have been repeatedly reported for their financial prudence if you check the news and articles. But here we are contributing significantly to that $1 trillion. And I was like, why is this happening? Looking deeper into it, I realized that everybody had the same problem as me. They were all using credit cards for on-plan shopping.
Okay, so I know we just learned all about Roya's great company. We're going to look at it a little bit more, but Roya, you're awesome too. So tell us about you. You're from Austin now, but you tell
Houston, Texas.
Yes, but you immigrated from where? Kind of give us a little background on that journey.
Yeah, for sure. I moved to Canada about 10 years ago from Iran as part of the skilled worker program. At the time, I was graduated from school in computer engineering. I've worked for 2-3 years before. Actually, more than that. I started working when I was 19 in my own field. And like Sherri said, I had the same experience. Like everywhere I went and any team I joined, I was the only, or if not, just one of the few female being on the team. So I totally feel what you're talking about. But then, so I moved to North America, moved to Canada 10 years ago. And I had admission from a couple of universities here in the US to actually continue my master's. But the financial plans I had back then didn't come through, and I had to stay in Canada and work. So I joined the workforce as a site reliability engineer. I did software engineering after that. But then the reason why I wanted to go to university was because I wanted to, do something meaningful with my life and make an impact and change people's lives for better.
So what you're clearly identifying a pain point in a big industry. Mm-hmm. You have this drive in order to, go to school. You you had this huge culture shock. How old were you when you came over to Canada?
26, 27.
And that had to be a huge culture shock for you, that transition. How did you manage that?
Well, I guess the culture shock, a big part of it can be managed by what drives you. You know, when you are passionate about something, when you are determined, when you see your lifetime values in like making those big moves, it makes everything easier.
I love that, because I want to draw the correlation to a lot of people in Silicon Valley who struggle with imposter syndrome. Like, they shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be doing what they're doing. But last week, again, we had Marianne in here, and she also immigrated to Canada, had her foundation there, and then came to the U.S. Similar pathway.
Yeah.
And she had the similar passion, drive, values that Sherri was talking about earlier. And you can hop in on this, Sherri, at any point. What sustained you in order to be one of the minorities in terms of women in your field, to keep your head down, focus on what was important, and then to see the problems and then go right after them, to be so intentional?
Well, I come from a family where my mom and dad were dreamers. And I think I owe a big part of it to them, because they taught us to, dream big and to be passionate about what we do and to make something valuable out of life. Well, I haven't achieved that yet. I'm working really hard on it, I would say. But I guess that is the big drive here, and that's what's like keeping me going every day. And besides that, I think there were things I've learned as a teenager when I was a young age that taught me to build resilience in life. Life experiences that taught me resilience, taught me passion, and knowing that these are the major things that would get you through anything you put your head into. And yeah, there are a lot of setbacks for you when you move to a new continent, to a new country. But then having the right values, trying to make the future clear for yourself, knowing what you want and why you actually, left your family and friends behind and came to this country all together. Pushes you to kind of get up every morning and work harder and want to be who you imagine yourself to be.
Sherri, you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, that's really well said. And I think the listeners would really benefit from understanding, motivating yourself and adapting to being a technical woman. And so one of the things that I worry about and try to help with is making sure that women are included and part of the conversation especially with respect to AI. AI is not magic. It's just data management, data engineering, data science on top of a tech stack. And so my question for you is, what are some things you wish you had known earlier in your career that allowed you, to have the success that you did have in your technical career?
That was deep, Sherri.
Yeah.
You went deep. That was good. It's like, does that apply to me? That's a good one.
No, but that's a very good question. I think this is something that as an entrepreneur, you always ask yourself. There are days that you go through something or phases you go through, and after you come out of them, on the other side, you're like, oh, I wish I knew this 2 years ago. So I totally know where that question comes from. I always thought that if you work hard, you get what you want. But I've learned the hard way that not only you have to work hard enough, but also you have to focus on building connections. Yeah. And basically connecting to a good network, getting yourself good advisors, and value your relationships. So it's not, coming from a tech background, it's very easy for you to be introvert, to want to just, do your job,
Tinker.
be at your computer, not wanting to get into a lot of social events and whatnot. But then when you become an entrepreneur, one thing that actually shows itself and shows its value into what you're doing and into your success is the fact that you actually have to be good with building relationships and connecting with people.
Amen. Can you say that louder for the people in the back, please?
That's great advice. So I think you're saying it wasn't about your technical prowess that bolstered you as a technical woman. It was about your ability to adapt to building and maintaining great relationships. I think that's great advice.
I love it. So once Walletifai AI, am I saying it right? Walletifai.
Walletify. Yeah.
There was that napkin moment where you said, I have an idea and I'm tired of this pain that you personally were experiencing.
Yeah.
What was your next steps?
Right.
And then give us a quick timeline of the things that you had to do to launch this company and end up here in Silicon Valley on Silicon Valley Impact, one of the world's best radio programs that we have ever experienced.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was
Sorry. Sorry. I'm pushing buttons over here.
Like any other startup, there is a lot going into building one, especially as a first-time entrepreneur. For me, there was a lot of things to learn and a lot of things to learn to undo.
A lot of vulnerability.
Oh yeah, of course, 100%. But yeah, we were ideating Walletifai with my co-founder back a few years ago at a coffee shop. We would just like, go out, walk, or have a coffee and whatnot, and talk about what the future could look like. And one day I was so mad at my credit card, and I was like, oh my God, I wish there was something that would give me this visibility into what I'm doing really with money. I don't want another budgeting app. I don't want something that would tell me, hey, set up these limits on your spending and do all these boring things to make sure that you're staying on track. And then that was the moment where we were like, what if we actually focused on what is actually causing that credit card debt?
And did you have any experience with AI up to that point?
No, not I worked with AI engineers through my position at FreshBooks, the company I was working at back then. But no, I wasn't actually like.
So you had to really dive in and learn. I mean, I relate to that. I know nothing about radio, but here we are. But yet the same concept,
Yeah.
right? You can't wait until you have enough information or until you have the right people. It sounds like you identified a problem and you went after it and found it along the way.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for us, there was a news came out about AI and models improving to the point where they needed less data to be trained well with high accuracy, and we're like, okay, this is going to be the future. So let's get started. Actually, I wrote the first code on our AI microservice. And I had to learn a lot about a lot of things. As a software engineer, I think this is something that you develop as a skill to kind of learn new things, find out what you don't know, and then go after it and learn it. And it was really fun, at the beginning, because you connect bank accounts, you would just like run data into your models and whatnot, and you get the result and you're like, oh my God, I had no idea. Like once one of our models actually picked up that I had a bill that would come in every month from Domino Pizza. So it was so funny because apparently I was ordering pizza from Domino around the same time every month. And it was so funny to see that coming through. So there was so much potential that we saw through basically using AI on people's banking data. And it actually got us hooked. We were like, this is the future. This is what the future should look like. I should not go too deep into my banking to understand what is the next right move. All of it should happen behind the scenes. I don't want to become another financial advisor to myself. I need something that'll tell me whether or not I can actually afford to make this purchase. And that's what we built. We've built something from the user's point of view.
So from a user's point of view, what is your biggest differentiator? Help me out,
Differentiator?
Brian. Thank you. When it comes to your app.
Yeah, so we do everything in the back end. All our users do, they just come on board, sign up, and link their bank account. Our models run and they detect everything about people's finances, from incomes, their spending patterns, and this and that. And it all happens in the back end because it's too much data. You should know what you want to give to people. It should be something that is actionable, that is easy to follow, and is rewarding. we are kind of like following a psychological cycle to help people develop some of those skills, which is based on something from the book Power of Habit from Charles Duhigg. It's about the cycle of cue, action, and reward. So we were like, okay, we don't want to give people all of these data. Let's put it all in the back end and give them small actionable items that they could actually work with that would guarantee a specific goal that they have in mind.
I love that. How does that resonate with you, Sherri?
Yeah, I think for busy people, I can see that it would be a really valuable thing. And so when you think about success for the client or the user, what would you want them to be able to say about using your system?
Of course, our main focus is to help people be prepared for their upcoming purchases. Say, for example, I've gone into this path so many times in life where I'm like, I know when the birthday season is in my network, everybody has that, right? And then for me, it's in June. And I usually go, bankrupt just buying gifts for everybody. But being prepared for it is always really good. It feels good to know that you could actually have a system that would help you put small amounts aside, maybe throughout the year, maybe for just starting from a few months before the birthday season comes to your life. And then when the time comes, you just have the money to spend and you don't have to worry about it or think about, okay, I'm going to just use this credit card and have to figure out how to pay it back or, change my lifestyle for next few months to be able to pay it back.
I love it. And the technology seems to breed awareness of spending because oftentimes, back when I was a wannabe financial consultant, I would tell people to learn to spend in cash because you can feel it leaving your world. It's so easy to pull out a credit card and just say swipe, swipe, swipe. Next thing you know, where did it all go? And
exactly.
I love that. Brian, you got something on the tip of your tongue.
I love the idea, love the concept, love what you're describing. It sounds like it's greatly needed in the for everybody because I don't know anybody who even budgets hardly. Where are you in the process? How soon can we get our hands on this? Is it available now? What's your timeline look like?
Yeah. Well, our application is out in Canada. It's available on App Store and Google Play. When we started, we needed data to build our models first to be able to actually deliver the actual features. And our app was available in US as well, but we had to take it off the market because we need to build some partnerships in US first to be able to automate some of the features. So right now it's available in Canada. We have a few thousand people who are using the application. And it's so rewarding to see that people are actually connecting, especially young generation is connecting with the message and is seeing the value in using the product.
Well, that's good that it's up in Canada because Lisa can help us out up there.
Oh yeah. Will you say the name of the app again so that when it does come to this country, we can all remember it?
Of course, it's Walletifai. It's Walletifai.
Walletifai.
Walletifai. Okay, so Roya, how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way to connect with you? LinkedIn, email?
Yeah, LinkedIn is definitely the fastest way to connect with me. My name is Roya. My last name is Kachooei.
Go ahead and spell it out. I don't have my glasses on.
It's Kachooei. So yeah, LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. And emails, sure.
Great.
Or anybody that's listening can get in touch with you, Brian, at Silicon Valley Impact, right?
Brian at Silicon Valley Impact.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's your email, Brian at siliconvalleyimpact.com. And we're going to move along, I'm sorry to say. Again, I'm captivated and I want to continue to listen to you talk because what you're doing is great, but I got to keep the show moving here.
We're right on mark.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to take a momentary break and we're going to bring in Jeanette from Blacey's. All right. Okay, we're going to keep the ball rolling. We have Jeanette Blacey sitting in the hot seat. You can pull that microphone towards you and lean into this conversation because I'm excited to talk to you. You're a Lost Gatton and you have a jewelry. Brian's going to step in and help you manhandle that microphone. It's a little stubborn sometimes. But Jeanette, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for you to be here because you have been in this beautiful town of Los Gatos for a long time. You have run and operated Blacey's Vault of Los Gatos for a long time. Tell our audience a little bit about you, introduce yourself, and a little bit about Blacey's. And again, I must say, one of our faithful sponsors, so I want to thank you for being here again. But introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. I've been here in Los Gatos. Well, I grew up here, and my family moved here in 1962, and I've been in business here in Los Gatos since 2001. So I've been here 23 years now, and it's been a journey. Being in a small town, even though I grew up here, coming from the mall, because I was call myself a mall rat, maybe.
Oh my gosh, I have not heard that for a while. You just took me back. Okay. Yeah. All right. So us mall rats now here sitting together. Yeah. All right. So you grew up here, went to Los Gatos High.
Yes.
Let's get right into the journey. What drove you to opening up Blacy's? And I'm going to let Brian go for a second, but you, Jeanette, you first. Tell us a little bit about Blacy's.
Well, it was a journey. I worked with my mother. I'm a third generation. I'm a graduate gemologist. And for about 10 years, I was an appraiser. And I got so frustrated appraising people's jewelry, and they were buying product that was not what they were represented to be. Mm-hmm. So I got really frustrated, and I decided, okay, it was just a natural progression for me to go into retail to try and help clients, because it was a problem. People were not getting what they thought they were buying.
They would bring you items to have you appraise, and you would have to break the bad news to them that they hadn't bought what they thought they bought.
Exactly.
They didn't own what they thought they owned.
No, and it was epidemic. It was, and this was you have to remember the time, this was in the 70s and the 80s. And since then, GIA has come around, and almost everything's certified now, which has really helped the industry. I mean, transparency and...
Yeah, what is GIA?
Gemological Institute of America.
Okay.
And that's where I got my degree as a graduate gemologist. I finished in 1981.
Yeah.
And I have a full gem lab, and I've had 2 gem labs in total. And I still have a gem lab, and I am doing appraisals daily.
So from the perspective of the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, the small business ecosystem, you see a common theme here for those of you who are listening. The business, the startup, the idea, the passion all comes from seeing and experiencing a pain point in an industry. I said this, I think 3 weeks in a row. Steve Jobs said the disease of the mind is thinking that you have a great product and then trying to push it to the right people. But really, it starts from reverse engineering that. It's seeing a pain point in the industry, seeing a pain point in the area that you have a passion for, a problem, and then solving it from the user's perspective backwards.
Yeah. It's the need.
It's the need.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to jump into our conversation about, very incredibly prestigious GIA. I told you my best friend from high school had, similar training background and is also a jeweler who's very fond of you. And it's interesting how there's so much classification and testing. And you said that you have a testing lab in your store. And so I want you to know you're that's where we're trying to go with technology. So that's why IEEE is kind of like the GIA of software, and we're trying to catch up to you. So just know that you think of fine jewelry as being this old world business, but you're actually way ahead of where we need to be. We need to get to where we're doing widespread testing and certification, because you work with gems that have they're certified to the color and to the quality. And that's exactly where we need to get with technology in order for it to be trusted. And so it's just interesting that you think of it as being an older industry, but you're actually way ahead of tech in that way.
And I'll circle back to the woman business owner topic also, that you've been a forerunner in that you've been owning a business and an expert in your field and providing remarkable consultation for people who needed it in your community.
Yes, and part of the other thing that I love is designing jewelry for people, but selling beautiful product and registered fine designs, I think is really a joy, because what we do on a daily basis is make people happy.
Oh, I love that.
And it is such a blessing, really, to do this every single day.
Well, that was your theme too, as well, Sherri, is serving others, is being a help where you can. So, Jeanette, you've been now in the location you're at, or been in business for over 21 years. Is that what you?
Oh,
Longer
this
than that.
location.
Just location. How
This
long have you been
location.
in business total?
Oh, good question. Well, I'm coming up on 50 years next year.
And
So
doesn't
I'm
look at
40
Not possible.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I
Not
need to-
possible.
I see
She's
some-
lying.
I need some ID.
She just discredited
Well-
herself. It couldn't possibly be.
Yeah, she's the jewel in here. But let me ask you, in all those years that you have been in business, what has sustained you? Because we see so many businesses coming and going, particularly with COVID, you see so many businesses go out. What has been your secret sauce to overcoming those hurdles and being in business, a small business for so long?
I think it's being honest with people, even though sometimes it's painful. They don't necessarily always want to hear bad news, but I think if you're honest with people, you sit and you listen to what they want, what their needs are, and then come up with the solution of what they want, like their perfect engagement ring or wedding ring to be. We become such a very beautiful part of someone's life and their relationship that this is a bond that we carry for 20, 30, 40, now 50 years. And we have multi-generations now. Our referrals are phenomenal. We have over 25,000 customers that we have served and helped, and it's wonderful.
Well, you're echoing what Roya was saying, is building trust, right? Building trust.
Trust is everything,
Yeah.
especially in this industry.
Because you need your customers to go out and tell all of their friends how remarkable of an experience they had with you.
Well, the proof is in their jewelry, I think, is
when they show it, yeah.
When they get to see, a beautiful piece on someone, they automatically ask, well, where did you get that? How did you get that? And, and the story just evolves, I think.
So you're engaging with your customers by allowing them to build their own story through the jewelry that they buy from you.
Absolutely, yes. And that's a very important part of creating jewelry, even restyling jewelry. Let's say someone has a ring from their grandmother or their mother, it's handed down. Jewelry is a very big part of that. And maybe restyling, looking at it. Some pieces, because the antiquity value is so magnificent, you don't want to touch it. You don't pull it apart. And it just breaks my heart when I see items that come across my desk and it's been taken apart, and it's just like I almost feel like it's
I can tell I can see the passion that you have for that.
so
You're very
sad.
animated, your arms, your hands are going, you're smiling, you're getting sad, you're really into it. But I think that's what really, again, has people trusting you, whether you have a startup in fintech or you're in the medical industry. I think when you have that connection, when you have that
love.
Yes, there it is.
The love. I mean, the true passion.
Yeah.
That consumes me, if you will.
And I think you're also making it about them,
Very
it's
empathetic.
about the
Yeah,
customer.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Like the same thing that we're trying to
Yeah, very much. I'm just relating what you're saying into the microphone. But what Roy is saying is she's identifying what Sherri identified earlier, is that all three of you really put empathy first. You're looking at it from the user's perspective and how can I serve you?
And quality.
And absolutely.
Quality of the product,
first.
quality
Yeah.
of the service. I know from reputation-wise, Jeanette, that you guys offer high-quality service, high-quality product. And so I think it's a combination of those three things.
Yeah, in any business. So go ahead, Jeanette. I know that got you, but you have established that reputation, being empathetic to the customer and delivering high-quality merchandise for the years you've been in business.
Yes, and it's important, after the sale too, because we ask people to come in, let us clean it and check it. It's not all about the sale. It's about taking care of the client's needs after. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've been so successful, is that we're not just about the sale. Every time you come into the store, we don't expect you to buy something, but we just want to visit with you because we have a relationship with that person. We're really a part of their life. It's similar to a physician-patient relationship. I think it's very special, and it's something that, we really are grateful for the clients putting their trust in us as well. I think
Which
that's
I'm just
very
going to point out
important.
before we wrap up. That's also one of the great things about doing business in this town in particular, in which I have a lot of experience. So it's probably like that in other towns too. But we have a small town, you see the same people. We live here for a long time. The four of us, I mean, there's
We
four
went
out of
to
six
Los
of us in this
Gatos,
room
yeah.
that went to Los Gatos High School, and there's a bond that comes with that, and we know each other through the community and through mutual acquaintances or friends, and that, I think, helps to build a business that's got rewards for you as the business owner and the people who walk in, because you're dealing with happy people in this great community. I'm sorry to say, Jeanette, that we got to wrap up. I'll let you go say it. What were you going to
Well,
say?
it's just the joy of, being able to do this.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, and
Being
you're a
here
joy.
in town.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's-
give the
it's
ad. Can we give the
lovely.
address? We can give the address, right?
Go ahead. Yeah. Would you, if you,
The
how can we get a
address?
hold of you? How would you like people to get a hold of you if you want them to get a hold of you at all?
Well, our website is, if
There you
I
go.
can say,
Yeah.
is blacy's.com. It's BLACYS.com. And we're right on University Avenue, right across from Old Town.
I love it. So I want to thank all our guests for being here today. Sherri, you're amazing as always. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's an honor.
Bring it. Yes. I think the crowd is going crazy for you right now. Roya, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Good to you. Good luck to you with your startup. Absolutely amazing. And Jeanette, our hometown hero for the day. Thank you. We got two hometown heroes today. Yeah, I'm just so used to it. Well, I
Give
want
me 5, girl.
Give them 5. All right, I can feel the love here. I want to thank everybody for listening, and that's a wrap for today. Thank you once again for listening to Silicon Valley Impact. You can join us here every Tuesday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Make sure to follow us also on Los Gatos Lifestyle, and we will see you next time here on KPCR 92.9 FM in Los Gatos.